93.1 The Voice. What's going on? This is 3rd and 30, man. You are joined by today Brad Brooks, man. I'm here with my dude Wanye Davis. What's going on?
Poppin'?
And then filling in for my main man Javon Hubbard, man. Adrian Harrison. What's going on, bro?
What up, man?
And a lot of people don't get to see you, bro. This our video producer, man. A lot of people don't get to see him, man. How you feeling today, G?
It's a good day, man. Just glad I can be here on the show.
I feel that, man. So jumping into it, you guys already know, man. NFL. This week was crazy, man. Like I've been saying, on the show, I've been an advocate. The NFC is a dog fight. And just jumping into it, man, the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles, they were able to go on the road, defeat one of the hottest teams in the Los Angeles Rams, 43-35. But in this game, MVP frontrunner, Carson Wentz leading the NFL in passing touchdowns. He went down. So, speaking on behalf of that game, Juan, you're an Eagles fan here on the show. How are you feeling on that?
Man, it's all right, man. Prayers go out to Carson Wentz, though, in all seriousness. A torn ACL is probably, an athlete's worst nightmare. However, this team is built to continue to move on and win games. Their next 3 games, they have to go to the Giants. They have Oakland at home, and then they have to go then they have the Cowboys at home. Those are 3 cakewalk games. They're going to win all 3 of those games. Therefore, they'll go 14-2. They'll get the number 1 seed in the playoff. Then everything has to come through Philadelphia. They have the running game. They have the defense. Nick Foles, I trust you. We trust you in Philly. We backing you up, Nick Foles. Nick Foles back in Philly, his last 18 games as a starter was 14-4. This guy is a guy who can play. He's a very good backup. Of course, in his stint with the Rams, he was horrible, but what quarterback has been good with Jeff Fisher? He's familiar with the offense with Doug Peterson. I think they fine, man. What you think about it, What you think about my boys? Talk to me.
Man, I just think it's unfortunate that Carson Wentz went down. He was the front runner in MVP race, and it's real unfortunate at the end of the season he goes down like that. But yeah. I think the Eagles could pull it through. I don't think they're gonna go 14-2, but
who you see them losing to? Who you see them losing to?
Cowboys can get y'all, man.
You said that last time, Bradford. You said that last time, and they beat them by 20.
Yeah,
y'all said that last time, and it was a 25-point loss.
Well, anyway, I think the Eagles are done just because, like you said,
Wait. So pause. What's done?
Okay, now if you let me talk, I can define what done is.
What's done?
Now, what we're not going to do that.
But I want you to.
Anyway, what I think is done, like you said, Nick Foles is a proven backup quarterback. Yes. You guys should be comfortable with him. He knows Doug Peterson's system. He was a backup with him in Kansas City. Yes, his team might, finish 14-2, 13-3, but in the playoffs, when it comes down to the quarterback position, you guys are done.
No, they're not.
Finish.
How?
Let me tell you why. This defense that you guys say is a stout defense. We've seen what happens when you go against top offenses. Offenses can score points on them. We saw yesterday the Los Angeles Rams were able to cap off 35 points against one of the...
That's not happening in Philly. I don't know why you think people are going to come into Philly and just score a whole bunch of points.
You're not going to have your leading passing quarterback who has tossed 33
But I'm talking about the defensive side of the ball.
Nick Foles going to be able to keep the offenses...
It's not about that. He can make the plays. I know he's on a Wentz, but let's talk about the quarterbacks in the NFC. You want to talk about Drew Brees? He's failed the 2 last games against the Falcons and I believe I can't remember the last team that they played.
They won. They're 1-1 this last 2 games.
But what I'm saying is, as far as in the 4th quarter, leading teams down the field and getting a W, Drew Brees failed to do that on Thursday. So that kind of knocks him out. He hasn't really proven that he can go down the field and lead a team in the 4th quarter. And he can do it against the Rams as well.
You want me not to take a proven Super Bowl quarterback over Nick Foles?
But what I'm saying, I'm not saying quarterback to quarterback. Well, what I'm saying is team versus team. Our team is the most complete team in the NFL by far. There's no argument about that. Drew Brees, I'm saying the gap in between the teams isn't that big. It's just an even playing field now that Carson Wentz is hurt because the Eagles were the front runner by a long shot with Carson Wentz. And I'm saying if they get that number 1 seed, no one is going to come to Philly and put up 30 points a game. Nobody's going to do that in the playoffs in South Philly. That's not happening. So can Nick Foles keep them above float with that running game? Absolutely. He can get 28, 27 points in a playoff game. Absolutely. And with the defense forcing turnovers,
we'll have to see about that, man, because it's some other teams in the NFC that I really like. The Rams yesterday giving you guys a game.
The Rams aren't ready.
The Rams aren't ready?
The Rams aren't ready.
So what makes the Eagles so much ready now?
What makes the Eagles so much ready is that they have the pass rush. They have the best front 7 in the NFC, in my opinion. Their secondary is getting healthy. They let up a few big plays, but they'll get that stuff together in these next 3 games because they have time to kind of get prepared for the playoffs. As far as a backup quarterback, yes, that gives them a knock. However, it's not that much of a drop off compared to the other quarterbacks, compared to Case Keenum, Jared Goff, who hasn't really proven anything, and then
Jared Goff. Oh, that's crazy.
Jared Goff couldn't even throw for 200 yards against us yesterday. What do you mean? He hasn't
proven anything.
I'm not saying that he hasn't improved, but I'm saying as far as he hasn't proved that he can really win a playoff game. First of all, because he's never been in the playoffs, but as far as against great teams, against the Saints, he did all right. Against us, he threw for under 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's not impressive to me. You're not proving nothing to me.
And then the last time Nick Foles was in the playoff, he lost. So
but that was 3 years ago.
All I'm saying is if you look at the entire NFC, like you said, it's an even playing field. That's the only reason I'm saying.
So home field advantage plays a big part.
I'm not seeing the Eagles as the favorite anymore just because, losing a front runner as an MVP for a quarterback, that's going to hurt them. I think that's really... Okay, we'll see. I mean, we're going to see.
We're going to see. All I'm saying is the Eagles are not... I overreacted at first. I mean, I know y'all saw in the group chat, I was tripping, I was crying, all that stuff. Because, I mean, it's like the one year where we actually have a legitimate shot to win without Donovan McNabb. He gets hurt. So, I think moving forward, as long as that defense steps up, Doug Peterson has been a backup in the NFL. He knows how to coach backups. He's gonna tailor the game for Nick Foles to be successful. He's gonna get those running backs more involved. He's gonna get a lot more short games. Zach Ertz will be coming back. This team is fine, man. Don't even worry about it. This team is fine.
That just seems like it's a narrative.
This team is fine. Okay. That's what they think.
That's what they just.
I'm not optimistic. I'm just realistic.
Philadelphia. But
see, Brad feeling himself because the Panthers got a little W against the Vikings. He feeling himself. He thinking they're gonna do their thing.
To stay on track, man. With the NFC, we saw this past weekend. Cleveland Browns, they blew their opportunity to get their first win, so they're still on pace to be the second 0-16 team in NFL history. But Green Bay Packers, they were able to cap off a victory. Another one with Brent Hundley. Now they're 7-6. Now, they're saying Aaron Rodgers is back in practice. This is a team, they're still on that bubble, in the hunt for the playoff position. Right now, they're slotted at number 8 behind Seattle, and they're still fighting for a playoff spot. However, though, I want to ask you guys, now that they are 7-6, they still got a game against Carolina. That's a tough one. Everybody's saying this is going to be the week that Aaron Rodgers comes back. Do you guys feel like Aaron Rodgers should come out? Because if this team gets into the playoffs, they're dangerous in my eyes. That's the baddest quarterback in the NFL. And if he comes back...
If he comes back unhealthy?
But we've seen Rodgers come back, though, from a collarbone injury before.
I don't see it. I don't see them making the playoffs at all. Not necessarily because I have lack of faith in Aaron Rodgers. I just don't think, because as far as the wild card, you have, as far as who's fighting for playoff spots per se, you got the Falcons, the Saints, the Panthers, and you still have the Seahawks. I don't see those teams dropping off for the Packers to be able to get in. So I don't think I never thought it was a smart idea for Aaron Rodgers to come back. I always thought that was more of like a legacy thing, like him trying to show that he's tough.
Trying to be Brett.
Trying to be Brett. And that's that's understandable. Trying to live that legacy. With Green Bay, but I just don't see them. I don't see those 4 teams dropping off to let the Packers get in. I don't see it happening.
Well, the teams that you mentioned, only reason I'm thinking he should play is because all the teams that you mentioned, they still have to play each other. Carolina still has to play Atlanta. Atlanta still has to play the Saints one more time. The Rams still got to play the Seahawks one more time. So the way the cards can fall, all is going to take.
But the Packers would need those teams to lose.
And that's my point.
But they would need them to lose to other teams that aren't also in the race.
And that's what I'm saying.
Because it would just be it's just going to flip flop each other.
But I'm saying a team right now, Seattle, they're 8-5. If they lose one more when they play Los Angeles next weekend, that means they can surpass them if Green Bay beats Carolina this week. Then the following week, if they can cap off one more victory and get another loss.
They need a lot of stuff to happen. And I just don't see it all happening. I don't see it all happening. If it was just the Packers, if you can win out, you get in, absolutely, I would say they're definitely getting in. But they need too much stuff to happen. They need somebody to lose here, then they need next week, they need somebody to lose here, and I don't see it happening.
It's the NFL, bro. A lot has happened in the NFL. With that bad man, like Stephen A. Smith likes to say, shoot, I think the chances are high, man. If Aaron Rodgers came back right now, man, the chances are pretty high, in my opinion. But switching gears to the MVP, we talked about Carson Wentz. He went down with his ACL injury yesterday. The MVP running. A lot of people were saying it's a 3-person race with Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson. And even before the injury, a lot of people were saying if the MVP was announced yesterday, before the injury went down, Carson Wentz would have won. Absolutely. Now that Carson Wentz is done, it's 3 weeks left of the season. far as, you know, the overall landscape of that, you know, MVP running, who do you guys think is going to get it now? Because a lot of people were saying it's going to be somebody like Russell Wilson, but his team necessarily doesn't have the wins for that. Do you guys feel like, you know, over these next 3 weeks, Carson Wentz will still be able to have enough on his resume to say, I can still win even without playing these last 3 weeks with my injury? Or is it somebody, Tom Brady's going to get it, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, or does maybe somebody like a sleeper like Antonio Brown go into the contention?
Antonio Brown. I mean, I definitely don't think Carson Wentz is going to get the MVP. Even if the margin was even wider, I still don't think the NFL would ever give an MVP to a guy who didn't finish the season. However, with that, Tom Brady has the yards, not necessarily the touchdowns, but the Patriots are low-key like a sleeper. Like, I don't even realize that they play football and they get W's week in and week out. However, my MVP, man, is Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, week in and week out, has proven that he's the best receiver in the league, having a huge game on Sunday night. Leading the league in receiving yards. I believe he also leads the league in receiving touchdowns as well.
He's going for a triple crown.
Yeah, he's going for that triple crown. That dude is ridiculous, and he makes plays after play after play after play. And it's just ridiculous how you can be that good for this long and continue to make plays night in and night out. He's my MVP, but I honestly feel like now that Carson Wentz is down, if the Seahawks can find a way to win that division or get in the playoffs, I feel like Russell Wilson has a good case. But my gut is telling me Tom Brady is going to win it.
Tom Brady.
I feel like.
Why do you think so, Adrian?
I mean, Brady, he leads the league in passing yards, about 330. He ranks second in yards per attempt, fourth in QB yard. This man is balling out, honestly, but it's under the radar. So you just never know when he's balling under the radar like that, but everybody knows it's Tom Brady.
And it's like we always say, it's almost like the LeBron syndrome. It's like we're accustomed to this. Tom Brady's supposed to do this year in, year out. So it's like, you know, they'll find a reason not to give it to him. You know, the past two MVPs, Matt Ryan and Cam Newton, those are new faces. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So somebody like Carson Wentz, I thought it was his year to win it because we are seeing so many new faces coming in the NFL, and it's just all we want to see is that consistency factor. But I think this year it is going to be Tom Brady. You know, what you mentioned, this is a team going under the radar. They're tied for first place in the AFC with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They'll be facing the Miami Dolphins on Monday, and I think, you know, they'll win that easily.
I think the biggest tell of who wins MVP is next week when they play each other. When the Patriots and Steelers play each other at 4:30 on Sunday. I think that's gonna be kind of the deciding factor on who gets MVP.
Yeah, and then that's definitely gonna be a game that we really find out, you know, a lot about Pittsburgh, because that was my next point. Going into the AFC playoff picture, you know, we are seeing the two top teams, Pittsburgh and New England, take on each other next week. But a lot of people are trying to say Pittsburgh is a pretender. I want to get you guys' take on that. Do you guys feel like, because, you know, with Javon on this show, Wanya, a lot of people have been saying sometimes that you know, Pittsburgh, they haven't been complete this season.
Yeah.
But I want to get you guys' take. Do you guys feel that, you know, Pittsburgh is a contender, or are they a real, you know, pretender? You know what I'm saying?
I definitely feel like they're a contender. Now, I think people sometimes confuse contender with you're going to win a championship. I think they're definitely a contender. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it to the Super Bowl. Do I think they will? Honestly, have no idea. It would have to come down to injuries. You know, the Ryan Shazier injury, that hurts them a lot. I mean, you know, mentally, you know, seeing one of your teammates down like that who can't move his legs and going through things that he's going through, prayers out to him. But on the football side of it, that was the guy who was the leader of that defense. He was the quarterback of that defense, the middle linebacker, making all the calls. That's a very important position, especially going into playoff time. You need those reps. You know, whoever the middle linebacker is, it's going to be a middle linebacker by committee. Those guys are going to have to pick up the slack. But that offense, they're going to have to put up, you know, 35, 40 points a game like they did last night in order to keep up, because that defense it wasn't there already. Now with Ryan Shazier out, it just hurts them even more. So, you know, as far as going into playoffs, I feel like it's going to be, you know, a game of injuries. I don't know. We would have to wait to make that decision later. But I definitely think they're a contender. They're not a pretender. They'll be in the AFC Championship against the Patriots.
Yeah, for sure. Defense is really hurt, but I think they'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, anytime you have the real Triple Bs, you know, and Ben, Bell, and Brown, I think you know,
said the real Triple
Bs, the Triple Bs that produce and don't gotta talk, you know.
The real Triple Bs.
So, you know, anytime you got the real Triple Bs and Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown, this is, you know, yes, you should look at a team as a Super Bowl contender. You know, they have two of the most explosive offensive players.
Absolutely.
And Antonio Brown, like you said, this is a dude, he is going under the radar as far as an MVP candidacy.
Yeah.
You know, this is a dude, like I said, he's aiming at the first Triple crown since Steve Smith back in 2008. So that's almost been like an entire decade that we've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I think, Steelers do need to be taken more seriously. That offense, once they get clicking, when they can run the ball, which you have to be able to do in the postseason, especially in the AFC, whether it goes to Pittsburgh or New England, it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
And when those games get cold, you got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to have a quarterback that has experience. So that's something I really like. But switching, to the entire landscape of the AFC, yesterday we saw a team that was on the bubble in Baltimore. They played Pittsburgh. They lost the game, very tight game, and they're still in contention, 7-6 now. The team that I think is really on the rise in the AFC, they're not even in the playoff right now. Next week they'll take on the Chiefs, to see who can get atop of that division. But the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm used to saying San Diego.
It's weird saying Los Angeles.
But it's just like, the Chargers have been balling over the past few weeks. For a team that started 0-4 over the course of the season, Anthony Lynn's team has been able to ball out. Now they're 7-6. Phillip Rivers is on a tear. He hasn't thrown a pick in over 4 weeks. Yeah. The defense is they have the second run defense in the NFL. Those dudes with Melvin Ingram and what's my dude, Joey Bosa. All those dudes are balling. They got some dogs on that team, man. Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, and it's like now that they're finally healthy. Yeah, now that they're finally healthy, it's like we're seeing Los Angeles do what a lot of people were thinking that they were capable of doing with that talented roster. So next week, in that matchup, who should be the favorite in the Chiefs versus the Chargers?
I mean, obviously, I think the Chiefs will be the favorite. However, the Chargers, I'm just not sold yet. The Chargers I see as a hot team, not a good team. I see them as, how we looked at the Chiefs in the beginning of the year. Just very good, going on a little hot streak. It won't translate in the playoffs. For the Chiefs, I didn't think it would translate to the playoffs, but it didn't translate throughout the first half of the season. They're 6 and I believe they're 7-6 as well. But I feel like the Chargers will escape with the win. I feel like that game is going to be a very low-scoring game. I feel like it'll be like a 13-10 type of game. Neither one of their offenses are really clicking, I would say. However, the Chargers, the Chargers are playing very good football right now. Joey Bosa, he's proven why he was a top 5 pick. Melvin Ingram, he's proven why he should be a Pro Bowler. But I feel like I just don't see it translating to the playoffs. I don't see it translating throughout the rest of the regular season. I feel like they maybe go 9-7, 10-6. Not 10-6, 9-7 or 8-8. But I don't see it translating to the playoffs, Brad. I don't see it translating.
True, very true. But moving on in the midst of that, moving on another team in the AFC, the Jacksonville Jaguars went on the road and made a statement in a big win, taking on Seattle Seahawks, beating them 30-24. In that game, they had 3 interceptions on Russell Wilson. AJ Bouye, he had 2 picks. I know you said you don't think this is the team for the future, but this defense, whatever you want to say, you can say this defense is serious. Jacksonville, they have some studs on that defense. And them facing Seattle, I felt like Seattle was just looking in the mirror, saying this was them back in the day. When Seattle was coming up, they had that talented defense. They had lockdown corners. They had an incredible pass rush. They had linebackers that could, also be in the coverage and, just ball out. Because we're seeing dudes like Malik Jackson balling, Calais Campbell balling, like I mentioned, AJ Bouye balling, Jalen Ramsey balling. Yeah. So it's just like that defense is for real. And if they can find a quarterback, shout out to my dude Bryce Steele. Me and him was talking. If they can get a quarterback like Kirk Cousins next season, this is a team they are for real, like I'm really saying. So I want to get your opinion on that. Was this just bad Seattle, or is this good Jacksonville? Because they've been able to pull out a lot of ugly games on the offensive side and win games because of their defense.
It was a combination of both. But the reason why I've always been reluctant to say this is the team of the future is because I feel like every time as NFL fans we say, "Oh, this is the team of the future," they drop off. The Buccaneers were supposed to be kind of that team of the future, dropped off. The Titans were supposed to be kind of that team of the future, dropped off. So I'm just not really sold on them yet, and not having a quarterback, that offense concerns me. It's not necessarily that defense. That defense is legit. It's just that offense concerns me. Yes, they're in a bad division. However, that offense is just Leonard Fournette. He's a great running back. However, like I've said numerous times, LSU ran him into the ground. So he's not going to last that long, especially with Blake Bortles as quarterback, and they want to rush him 25, 30 times a game. Blake Bortles definitely isn't getting done. If they get Kirk Cousins, we're skeptical about that because I feel like Washington will give him his money. However, if they do get Kirk Cousins, it'll improve them. However, in that AFC South going on in the future, you got Deshaun Watson who's balling. Andrew Luck is coming back. Those teams are, those are legit, bona fide, starting top 10 type quarterbacks. They're not getting past those guys. But as far as right now, in that game yesterday, I feel like Russell Wilson tried to force a lot of things. Russell Wilson, they asked him to do a lot. He's accounted for every single touchdown except one on their entire season. They asked him to do a lot, and they got exposed against a great defense. That's why I don't see them going too far in the playoffs. And it being at home in Jacksonville, that definitely helped. But what you think about it, A?
I mean, it's just regular Seattle, honestly. I see Russell Wilson doing stuff like that all the time. He just tries to do too much. So, I mean...
Well, he has to.
He has to, but it's just, he does too much, so it's like, it's Seattle. I don't expect much.
Yeah, man. I think it's time to start showing Jacksonville some love, man. We've seen teams get hot, man, in the playoffs because of a defense. So, who's to say that, they could make a run. But, going back to the NFC South, NFC South, we have, as of right now, they have 3 teams that are poised to make a playoff run, New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panthers, and Atlanta Falcons. So, right now, this past week, Saints and, this past Thursday, the Saints and Falcons, they took on each other, and Falcons were able to cap off the victory, go 20-17. Panthers were able to get a victory on Sunday. With the 3 games left in the NFL, Carolina, they still have to take on Green Bay, have to take on Tampa Bay, and then have to take on Atlanta. Atlanta still has to take on the Saints. Saints still got to take on the Falcons. With that, who do you feel like should be the favorite to, be at top of that division to win the NFC South?
Man, I don't know, because I honestly don't know. I can't, I don't know who to say, because the Panthers look very good against the Vikings. They look very good. However, they're inconsistent. They're very inconsistent. Same with the Falcons, very inconsistent. And then the Saints, I don't know how quickly Alvin Kamara is going to come back. Never really been too hyped on their defense. So I honestly don't know. So I'm going to just go with the quarterback. So I'm going to go with the Saints. I feel like the Saints are going to finish it out. I feel like the Saints will get that win against Atlanta. I feel like if Aaron Rodgers comes back, I feel like that's a game that the Panthers will drop. And I got the Saints going in, but I feel like Atlanta and the Panthers will both get those wild card spots. But the Saints will win the division.
Most definitely.
Well, it's time to start showing Carolina some love. It's time to start showing Carolina some love because, what Carolina was able to do yesterday, they were at home. They took on one of the best teams in the NFL in Minnesota. And what did they do? They won. Carolina is one of these few teams in the NFL. They have not had back-to-back losses in this regular season. They've been able to beat good teams. We've seen them beat New England this year. Now adding a victory over Minnesota to their resume. Only thing that has been their Achilles heel is going against teams that have been quite balanced. They've lost 2 games in New Orleans. They lost a game in Philadelphia. Both of those teams are very balanced. They can run the football and can pass the football. Yeah. I'm looking at a team like Green Bay. Even if Rodgers comes back, this team is so one-dimensional. They're beat up at the running back position. The dude Aaron Green that they have,
Aaron don't need a running back though. He don't need a running back.
Down. But the thing is though, the last time we've seen Green Bay when Carolina faced them, they were able to dominate them from the defensive standpoint. That's just something that I think Aaron Rodgers is going to run into. Carolina's defense, if you watch that Minnesota game, Carolina's defense is legit. They are elite. Both of their cornerbacks who they drafted in last year, Worley and Bradbury, they're stepping up. That pass rush is phenomenal in Addison. Charles Johnson is suspended right now, but Julius Peppers is doing his thing.
Yeah.
So I really think, if they can cap off the victory against, the Packers, Buccaneers, that's a game that, it should be a cakewalk. And then going on the road to Atlanta, I think, that should, be able to put
I don't see them winning that game. I don't see them winning that.
Well, Atlanta's offense has been too shaky for me. Because even if you watch how they beat New Orleans, Matt Ryan was giving that game away. Like, if you watch that game, he was giving that game away. Yeah, they would win, but he was just putting
Cam has done the same thing in the past. So both quarterbacks are capable of doing it. Don't just throw it all on Matt because Cam can do it as well.
I guess we'll have to see that.
Well, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see.
All 3 of the teams are gonna make the playoffs. All 3 of the teams are gonna make the playoffs.
I don't know about that yet. I don't want to say it just because
you think Seattle's gonna sneak in?
Well, it's just so many other teams that I said.
Dirty soda and styrofoam. Spend a day to get my mind blown. Dress it up and go to Nassau.